Well, hello and welcome back to another, I don't know, Zay Plays? I don't know what to call these. But anywho, it's another breakdown of this deck. We're trolling on ranked. It's towards the end of the season now, so I am going to try and work my way up to plat with this deck. Originally, it was literally just going to be for trolls. I made a hand trap Exodia deck just for trolling. But then I was like, I actually like this. Like, it's different. Like, I don't see this deck running around, even in lower ladders, even in dual rooms. Like, no one, I do not see anyone running around with a deck like this, where it's completely just hand traps. Even the Zodiac Tri Brigade, you know, focuses on getting out Tri Brigade. My deck does not. Now, that being said, there are some changes that sort of make it different, but we'll talk about those later when I go over the deck list, what changes were made and why. These are some victories from today. Not all of them, of course, but these are some of them. The first one, whoops, the first one here had seven. It only took 7 turns. They gave up. This other one here, after why in the world is it double clicking? This other one here, after 13 turns, they gave up. Ones where they didn't give up, the duels took some time. We got one that's 41 turns here, one that's 51 turns here, and one that's 57 turns. Now, that being said, I was gonna um pretty much I'll just pretty much for the sake of having these here, I'm just gonna speed through these and talk about them for a little bit and just let y'all see for yourself. I'm not gonna do it, at the normal speed, but we'll just speed through these things here. Seriously, this is so loud on my ear for this game. Anyways, so you'll see here that basically, like, it was a Blue Eyes deck, and I don't run this version of the deck anymore. I do not use Pot of Extravagance anymore in this deck. I do use Time Lords. Time Lords, the 3 specific Time Lords that I use are so crucial to keeping this deck alive and somewhat competitive to troll longer with. Because Life Point Protection and Disruption, Disruption is the name of the game with this deck. And Life Point Protection is a hard thing to do when you're only having Battle Faders protect you. But this person's doing some Blue Eyes, Galaxy, shenanigans, stuff like that. Now, that was a new one that I just added recently. Evenly Matched. I didn't know a thing about this card when I first made this hand trap deck. And I didn't know Evenly Matched was a hand trap. Like, for real. I didn't know it could be activated from the hand. Yes. And it's basically a field wipe. Practically. For all intents and purposes, it's a field wipe. But anyway, since he made it this far into the video without my background music playing. Anywho. So let's get on to the next one here then. And so it was crazy. But anywho, so yeah, they gave up. Once I shut some things down, they gave up. Now, there is a way to play this, the way you play this deck, or I guess in general, whenever you have field wipes options, like I have Raigeki and Feather Duster. If someone has anything, and I have Lightning Storm, the priority would be Harpy, Feather Duster, then Raigeki, then Lightning Storm. The reason why I'd use Harpies or Feather Duster before using Lightning Storm is because Harpy and Raigeki, are locked into one specific thing, whereas Lightning Storm could be anything. So it's better to save that for something I actually need it for. Like in this case, I needed it to be a second Raigeki because I knew they're totally awesome would just deny me my thing. Now, the reason why I didn't do Harpy's Feather Duster was because they only had one thing in the back row, and I had the blue Time Lord in my hand, which gets rid of back row. So I wanted to get that done first. However, I did want to make sure that no one, negated my effects, things like that. And since it's Feather Duster, I did want to save it, but the priority is knock out their back row first in case they negate or delete or respond to whatever you're doing to their front row. There's a lot of cards that protect the front row from the back row. there are not a lot of cards that protect the back row. There's just not in Yu-Gi-Oh! I looked it up because this deck kind of needs it. I'm also building a Karibo deck, a different one than what I've shown on this channel before. And yeah, back row protection is crucial, especially for the style that I'm going for on that particular deck. But that's a different video, different time. This deck, as we're showing here, does use some of the Time Lords. We use the blue one, we use Camion, Zaphion, and then the other one, I really don't know their names. I literally just look at what their effects are each time. But you'll see it come up, no doubt, in this video because I've gone through it. Actually, ironically, in this video, actually in all these replays that I'm going to show, I did not win with Exodia. Not once. Not once did I actually win with Exodia. It was either from deck out or, as you'll see in the other one, was actually not from deck out. Two are from deck out, the other was from this guy's effect, actually. Dealing just that slow, small chip damage. Also, DD Crow. Let me just say something right here. DD Crow has been so helpful for this deck. More helpful than the Ghost Ash Blossom variant. Singularly because DD Crow can straight up just target stuff in the graveyard rather than wait for the opponent to activate stuff. So I did make some changes. I think I've uploaded the hand trap deck before on this channel, but there are changes. The current version, and they gave up there because I just kept blocking everything they were doing. The current version actually doesn't have Ghost. Now, so that being said, we're gonna get through this one right here. Now, this deck is also not made for going first. You definitely don't want to. But if you do, there are some cards. I don't have Ledger of Ledgermane in this deck anymore. I do like it because of the draw power. You get 3 cards later on, which is great. In a hand trap deck, you need that. Also, I did add Performapal Kari Babble. Now, I used to actually run this in my Karibo deck, my Karibo Exodia deck. However, I had a bad experience where something I did went wrong. It didn't trigger, the guy didn't attack, something like that. And I was like, wow, I'll just sit this Karibo out there to get sacked and not get the life points. So I stopped using it because if I recall correctly, when I used it on a certain duel, it caused a replay to happen and the person chose not to attack, which isn't supposed to happen with Karibobble's effect. They're supposed to just immediately be locked into attacking it. But at that instance, it didn't happen. My Karibobble was still there, and so I was like, wow, okay, let's not do that. That's why it's not so popular, I thought. But I'm assuming they must have fixed that issue in Master Duel. That must have been a bug or a glitch or something, whatever. And so now it works perfectly. So I actually have 2 Karibobbles in there, and they pair well with, you know, having Battle Faders, because I have more life point protection, along with these Time Lords. And speaking of timing, I got the Karibobble here to just soak up and eat up those life points from the access code talker. And they tried to Raigeki a Time Lord. And they attacked a Time Lord. People are bots. People play like bots. They don't read. They don't. But it's okay. I mean, everyone misplays, but that was a huge misplay. Anyways, so this is another addition as well that I've done. I have added some cards. Once I took out the Pot of Extravagance, I did start adding cards for the extra deck because there were situations I was running into where I would stall so well that the opponent couldn't do anything because they've exhausted their resources, and I'd just be left with these monsters to summon down or discard to the graveyard. So I would of course play them in defense mode to protect my life points and not have to waste a Battle Fader, you know. But then they're just there. So I'm like, well, if I run into those situations, which I commonly did for people who don't surrender, then I was like, alright, well, let me actually make the extra deck useful. And I tried to do that and still keep my pot of extravagance, but yeah, no, discarding 6 random face downs and not having the ones you need later on, yeah. And I will say the survivability of this deck increased a bunch when I actually did make the extra deck useful. So yeah, that's what I did. Just make it useful. And I mean, if I'm using now, one of the Ixies that I use, of course, is Slacker Magician. 2 level 1s. I have a bunch of level 1s in this deck. And if you have to use an Exodia piece to stay alive, along with like after a battle fate or turn, that's the easy Slacker Magician. If they have some weaker monsters out there, you can run it into something for free, because once per turn it can't be destroyed by battle. So you run Slacker Magician into something that you can sacrifice life points for, and then you get Zeus. Because any deck that runs Ixi monsters should run Zeus. I mean, it's so useful. If they attack, you can get Zeus back for free. But also, Pot of Avarice is the most amazing free, better than Pot of Greed thing for this hand trap deck. Because any monster in the graveyard goes back to the deck, which includes the extra deck. So while I'm trying to get Exodia pieces, instead of sending 5 monsters to the deck to make my deck thicker, I could theoretically send all Igzis and Links and Synchros if I had them, which I don't, but if I did, I could send all those guys there and then just draw 2 cards. Or I can send back cards like Kuribabble over here and keep, absorbing life points. I can send back my Kaiju. I can send back DD Crow. Any hand trap. Pot of Avarice is the best draw card for a hand trap deck like this, which I haven't seen other decks like this. I mean, I run so many field wipes in this deck, it's crazy. Yeah, I just smacked him with Kuribo. Then I played Anima and smacked him because he decked out. He decked out, so I kind of was toxic at the end there and played Anima and smacked him with a Kuribo when I didn't have to. But they didn't give up, so props to them. Props to them for not giving up. Alright, so let's go through this one here as well. Now, this one was an interesting deck because they were running these live twin whatevers and something else here. You'll see it momentarily. Now, Masquerena was an interesting thing because so again, prioritizing back row, then doing front row. Now, I knew their Masquerena was gonna do this, and then they were gonna summon that, which couldn't be destroyed by card effects, which was fine because after the Ledger main, we crash into it and shuffle it back because Time Lord. That's the other Time Lord I was talking about. Of the 3 Time Lords, that's the 3rd one there, because this deck is all about disruption, keeping opponent's field clear. DD Crow coming in to save the day to banish the Eldlich. Yes, they're running Eldlich and Live Twin League, whatever those things are. Eldlich and that. So this is also why I love DD Crow more so than the Ghost Ash Blossom card thing. Because when it comes to those 2 cards, when it comes to this one right here, not this one, Ghost Bell and a Haunted Mansion or something like that. Ghost Bell will, when they move a card from the graveyard if they're moving a card from the graveyard, Ghost Bell will block it. If they're special summoning a monster from the graveyard, Ghost Bell will block it. And if they're banishing a card from the graveyard, Ghost Bell will block it. The only thing Ghost Bell does that you can't do with DD Crow is negating effects where the card banishes from the graveyard, because that's normally a cost, in which case you can't use DD Crow because the card's already banished, and all the DD Crow does is banish a card. It doesn't negate anything. However, on an effect like this, where they were going to special summon something from the graveyard, they would have to target it first in the graveyard, and then you can use DD Crow to just banish it from them. So in that sense, like DD Crow does have more utility, but Ghost does do one thing that DD Crow can't do. However, because of Dex popularities like, you know, good old Golden Boy Eldlich over here, um, you know, DD Crow is extremely useful, especially when you got Pot of Avarice who can bring everything back to the deck. Even when they get rid of a Time Lord and send it to the graveyard, I can bring it back. Which is perfect. I aim for their back row, because always, if you can, might as well. They did that, but I mean, it still gets destroyed because it's still counted as a trap. So here's a situation where I had a full hand, they have nothing, and so I'm like, well, I gotta play something down. It's better to play something than to just discard it, in most situations. So, do that, play the card D, they still got nothing, I'm like, cool. Smack them with the Maxi. I knew they would do that, that's why I went ahead and attacked so they could activate it. And then I'll just select the other one to get rid of, which they activated. But it's okay. And they summon the Eldlich and get rid of my thing. Yes, because Eldlich is so much fun to play against. It's just the most fun thing ever. Don't you enjoy playing against Eldlich? It's so great. But, you know, we absorbed those life points, which got me still more life points than what they took. And they got the Evil Twin Lala and the Evil Twin Key Sickle combo here, so one will always summon back the other. Got the Anima to absorb the Eldlich. Run into that, do a little damage. I mean, they'll summon it back, but you know, I do what I do. But then once they popped it, I was like, I'll pop your Eldlich. So that's 2 Eldlichs down, 1 to go. Now this version of the deck at the time only had 1 DD Crow, unfortunately. I wasn't running 3 DD Crows yet, so, you know. We still have the Ghost Bell here. So we're still negating some stuff. But, you know, if it was a DD Crow, I probably would have saved it for that. But we got Slacker Magician running it into the least amount of life points so I can get my Zeus. Zeus, do what it do, send everyone away. I should have put Zeus in defense mode though, just to be on the safe side, because Eldlich can come back at 35. Wasn't thinking that at the time. Of course, Eldlich comes back at 35, pops Zeus, and I take 500, which I could have avoided. And then the Ash Blossom card D. Now the good thing is, between 3 copies of Maxi, 3 copies of card D, and 3 copies of Pot of Avarice, odds are you'll be able to, you know, get some draws in, even if they have Ash Blossoms, even if they run 3. They can't stop them all. He did stop this one though. And at this point, it was pretty clutch in the game. So that was my last Pot of Avarice. I think I was only running 2 in this version of the deck. Only 2, yeah, I was only running 2 Pots of Avarices. So I was like, I'm kind of stuck at this point. Now, okay, so at that part right there, where I played down that piece of Exodia, I was trying to Link summon Link Karibo. I'm still, when it comes to links, I am not the most knowledgeable because I don't like them. I really don't. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh has changed so much. I don't really like using links, but in order to do what I want to do, I kind of have to, you know, get with the times, as they say. So I forgot this whole thing about links where you got to put them in the extra zone first, and then their arrows determine where you can summon other link monsters to. Totally did not realize that. So I was trying to go for a Link Karibo here when I summoned the piece of Exodia there. Yeah, it didn't work, obviously. And now the turns are flying by because we're both stalled here. But at this point, They're running low on their deck. I got 6 cards, they got 3, but I got Time Lords, and that's the other thing. You won't deck out with Time Lords if you use them. Like right now I'm not, but if you use Time Lords, you won't deck out. And I knew I wouldn't deck out. I did something just to see what they got this last evenly match. They were hiding a Solemn because, you know, it's game. It doesn't matter at this point. It's game. I'm just making plays to be toxic at this point. And attack for 0 with a Time Lord that does nothing. I was not going to shuffle anything, and that was the other thing. I chose the Time Lord that wouldn't shuffle anything back into their deck because I wanted them to deck out. But with Time Lords themselves, you won't deck out. Now, that was that. So I believe we're on the final one now. And this is the one with the current version of this deck. So I apologize, this is a bit of a longer video. However, with this deck in particular, these duels can go a while. If they don't surrender, these duels can go. If they don't just get annoyed with this deck and just give up, they can go. They can go a long while. And this one was by far the longest. But they're also running a deck that's like a 50 something card deck, 60 card deck. I want to say 6, somewhere there. I didn't count at the beginning, but it was a lot. Whereas I'm running a 40 card deck. So yeah, they keep summoning things back. They keep doing what they do, and I just do what we do here. I mean, this deck is really simple to run. Now, you do, if you want to be efficient with it, you do actually have to use some brain cells. You know, think about when to do effects and things like that. But when it comes to things like, you know, Ash Blossom, knowing when to Ash Blossom, you just do it. Because a lot of this deck is about crushing their momentum and keeping them from gaining any. So stopping them whenever you can to just lower their, make them drain their resources and lower their momentum. See, this time I put him in there in defense mode. Now, I didn't have to do that. The whole point was I was trying to trigger this trap card that I knew was the counter trap card. I was trying to trigger that so then I could actually do a lightning storm. So I didn't have to do the kaiju there. That was kind of a waste. But this is the current version of the deck with 3 Pot of Avarices and 2 Curry Baubles, Performant Pal Curry Baubles, and 3 DD Crows, cause you just gotta. Of course, I absorb them life points, yum yum yum, delicioso. Use the evenly matched, then use a dark hole, and evenly matched can be used on your turn as well from your hand. Like, you just go to the battle phase even though you have nothing, and then go to main phase 2, and it'll let you trigger evenly matched, which is great. You know, as long as you have nothing here. Now, this Eldlich, the Mad Golden Lord, this is what made this fight drag on. Honestly, is this guy that made this fight drag on so much. Not only was the opponent playing like a bot, though, and attacking a Time Lord and not reading anything. Now, I also made a mistake there and forgot that, you know, I didn't read and forgot that when he's at 3,500, can't be destroyed by monster effects or card effects. I knew this guy couldn't. I knew that. I forgot about this guy, so I wasted a lightning storm. Evenly matched, got rid of another Eldlich, but I mean, this guy is relatively a bigger threat than Eldlich, the regular Eldlich. Now, he did a Monster Reborn, so I'm like, cool. But the thing is, they Monster Reborn my Time Lord, which has 0 attack. I don't know what they were thinking was gonna happen. Now, I almost wanted to crash my Time Lords together to see what would happen, but I was like, nah. But he basically gave me my Time Lord back from the graveyard, because he took it with Monster Reborn to make it attack a face-down defense position monster. Like, he didn't read the effect. It was a total bot move. Why would you do that and give me back my... Basically gave it back to me, because even if I didn't use another Time Lord on it, at the standby phase, it would have gone back to my deck. So it just gave it back to me. I don't know. But instead, I got it back to my hand because of the other Time Lord. So I don't know. I don't know. They were playing like a bot. Now, here's another thing with the links. One other thing I didn't realize with the links, and the reason why I have this Exodia piece down is because I was trying to, at this point, link into, I want to say it was Nightmare, or no, it was Appaloosa. Because I was reading this part that says 2+ monsters with different names except tokens. Well, I have 2 monsters on the field with different names, and they're not tokens. However, and I have an arrow pointing down. However, and actually I'm currently looking this up now, maybe someone could tell me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure, or at least I think it is now, that when it comes to link monsters, the link number is the amount of monsters or link values you have to have. So if I had a link 3 monster right here and this piece, then I should be able to summon this link 4 Appaloosa or Apollo USA, America. Anyways, so that's what I was thinking. I could just do these 2 and summon that because it's 2+ monsters with different names. And then I was like, well, maybe it's the plus. I don't think it's that. I think it's that you actually have to have like 4. Or like a link of a certain number and then other monsters to add up to, you know, whatever the link value is. I think. So I went for Slacker Magician instead. And I went for the Link Rebo Slacker Magician combo. Now here they sacked 500 life points optionally, and they didn't do anything with it. They really did not. But since they sacked a Golden Lord for the Mad Golden Lord, I will definitely banish their Golden Lord. Which means there are 2 Eldlich Golden Lords banished. 1 more to go. And then, okay, so I think I know what they're trying to do here, trying to get me to use up my material. And I really considered, at this point with Slacker Magician, I really considered crashing into Eldlich in order to get Zeus out. But I was like, no, because that's way too many life points I would have to lose. And it's a good thing I didn't. Or actually, I don't know, maybe this battle would have gone differently if I sent that thing to the graveyard. And then banished it with like a DD Crow. Maybe this battle would have gone differently. Who knows? Maybe it would have ended sooner. Because I'm just banishing stuff with DD Crow, so I don't like have to give it up from the hand. Even set down a magic card or spell card, just so that I wouldn't have to diss it from the hand. Like that's at a stalemate we were at. So then he finally gets another one there. Sacks it to take my Slacker. Slacker got caught slacking. Okay, so I'm like, well, fine. Dark Hole, everything, except for your Mad Eldlich. And then I'm going to do that. And you're going to special summon, so I'm going to max see you. Got 3 pieces of Exodia here. Oh, well, I was going to shuffle your back row, but, you know, it was a Mirror Force that you activated. I mean, cool story, bruh. Probably should have let it shuffle. And I'll take those yummy life points. Another Time Lord to keep me alive. Like, these Time Lords put in some work, for real. Now, they chose to banish my Slacker Magician of all things. All these hand traps that they know I can get back to the graveyard. And they banished Slacker. But then they also negated my, I think this was my 3rd Pot of Avarice. Yeah. No, it wasn't my 3rd Pot of Avarice. Well, I think it might have been. But thankfully I didn't have any Exodia pieces in the graveyard. But I did get rid of their Eldlich, so it was nice. But now they're summoning this other stuff. So I'm like, okay. And they're making their combo plays. Because remember, they're running a fat deck. And they've gone through most of it, though. They're at 14 cards. I'm at 10. And once again, get the Link Rebo out here, just because. They summon that, do their thing, yada yada. They're like, alright, let's bring out the 3rd Eldlich. I don't have a DD Crow at the moment, though, or anything to get rid of them. I haven't even come across my Kaiju. Now here, I know what you're wondering. Why in the world would I let them attack me and do all that when I have a battle fader in my hand? I could be saving myself from these life points because I took 1,000 more. Actually, yeah, I took about 1,000 more than I thought I would. Because I forgot about the field spell. It increases their attack by 500 during damage calculation. So I was like, because they took my Link Karibo and started attacking. I don't know why they did that, but probably because they didn't want me to, take the least amount of life points, so I didn't tribute Link Karibo, which is fine. But if I had Battle Fader on the field, I cannot activate Evenly Match from my hand because I'll have a card on the field. And Evenly Match can only activate after the end of the battle phase, which would mean I would have Battle Fader on the field. I'd have to wait till it's my turn, set down Evenly Matched. I only have one Link Karibo. The other option would be to swap out Battle Fader with Anima over here and get a 300 attack little thing, and I can't crash into anyone to get rid of Anima. Otherwise, I would die. Or I could play down a piece of Exodia next to the Battle Fader and get, like, a Slacker Magician and go on. But if they just attack 3 times, or twice, then that would take out my other Slacker Magician here, and then they would finish me off. I did have some other one rank 1 Igzy option, some weird looking, well, not weird looking, but it was one where you would detach the 2 materials, and for the rest of that turn it couldn't be destroyed by battle or card effects at 0 attack, 0 defense. I forget the name because it's a Japanese name there, like the English spelling is of the Japanese name. But so yeah, but then even then that would only save me for that one turn, and it would still be on the field, which it would save me for that one turn unless he decided to sack one of these guys to take control of that one, because that one doesn't have effect protection like Slacker Magician has for two during for at least 2 times. Slacker Magicians are protected from effects for at least twice when stuff targets it. The other card I'm talking about does not have that, so you could just sack one of the oh, he couldn't do that because it doesn't have the Golden Boy Eldlich. Well, never mind, we're not the Mad Golden Boy. So it might have played out the same if I had that card in this deck, but that card was not as efficient to use as Slacker Magician, and crashing into with Slacker Magician to get Zeus. So I went with this instead. I got a Time Lord, did that, and the Time Lord won. I did not win with Exodia, but I did reduce their life points to 0 because they kept sacking a lot of their life points with their vampire cards. Now, that being said, the current version of this deck so here's the current version of this deck if you made it this far into the video, or if you just skipped to this part of the video here to see what I'm talking about. We got our standard Exodia pieces. We got those. We got 3 copies of DD Crow, 3 Battle Faders, 3 Maxis, 3 Card Ds, 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 different Time Lords. We got the Time Lord that shuffles or returns all the monsters on the field to the hand, which is a disruption, a non-targeting, non-destroying effect, which is great for those pesky monsters that can't be targeted or destroyed. We got this one that shuffles the opponent's back row into their deck, which is, great for back row removal. And then we got this one right here that shuffles just any one card into the deck, which is also great because it's non-targeting. And we got 2 Performapal Karibobles, so we can get those juicy life points to keep us alive longer, because that had definitely saved us in these duels here. We have a Kaiju. I prefer this one simply because it's the weakest attacking one in case I can't automatically get rid of the Kaiju. If you're wanting to be a little bit more risk for your reward here, depending on where a monster is placed, you could go, of course, for the Thunder King Kaiju itself, and then summon a Anima on that same turn to absorb that, and then you have a 3300 beat stick, which would be the most powerful monster in this deck, because other than that, the most powerful one is Zeus, which is only 3k. Now, that being said, there probably are other Time Lords you would like to use, but for the purposes of this deck to be as disruptive as possible, to take away opponent's momentum, and this deck is centered around field wipes, just wiping the opponent's field, stopping them from doing anything, but all with hand traps. Like, the objective is not to have anything actually stay on the field, ever. Time Lords are an exception, and they are a very powerful exception in this deck. Because of their effects, and they're only there on the field for like one turn and then they're gone. Battle Fader is also an exception because it straight up ends the battle phase. So of course, so you got the 3 Dark Holes, you got your staple Raigeki, Feather Duster, 3 Pot of Avarices. They are legitimately like upgraded Pot of Greeds for this deck. For real, they are upgraded Pot of Greeds. It's amazing. That also is great for if you have to use Exodia pieces, or if someone used something like card destruction or hand destruction on you, and you have to sack an Exodia piece to the graveyard. Well, you have 3 opportunities to get them back. However, even if you don't get them back, you can win by decking out with Time Lord shenanigans, or even slowly burning them with Time Lords, or there's the number 54 Lionheart. If you find yourself in a very rare situation where you have 3 level 1 monsters on your field, hey, number 54 is great. In the cases where you have card Ds that you have on the field, as well as other cards I used to have in this deck, but in this case card Ds, number 45 is really nice. Basically it negates effects of any card that it targets, so not just monsters. The Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin is also really nice because it changes, makes an opponent's monster attack become 0 and negates its effect. For your case of your level 3s, like where you're summoning your Ash Blossoms face down because you had a full hand, you don't want to just diss it to the graveyard. And also when I was running the Ghost Bells as well instead of these Curry Bubbles. Number 49 is great. You get some life points at the end of, during your standby phases, which is nice because this deck definitely needs to get some life points. I mean, it's nice. But also, when this thing dies, you take those level 3 monsters and shuffle them back into your deck, so you don't really lose them in a sense. Same with Super Quantal Mech Beast Gramples. Basically, it's back row removal, which is nice. And then of course you got Zeus, because if you get into Slacker Magician, which is going to be your most common situation because most of the monsters are level 1. Well, most of the ones that'll be in your hand are level 1. Most of the ones that'll like be there and stay there are level 1. Maxi and Carcardia level 2, but your other ones are level 1s, including your arm pieces or Exodia pieces. So the most common thing is you'll have Slacker Magician, you'll run it into something that you can survive the life points of, weak enough, and then you'll get Divine Arsenal Zeus with 3 materials, which is enough that you need to do the field wipe, which doesn't target or destroy, which is awesome. Link Karibo, easily explainable, level 1 Karibo, it's utility. Anima also has that utility, situational, but it's there. Nightmare Phoenix, another staple one, removes some back row. Nightmare Unicorn, shuffles a card if you can get it. Appaloosa, if you can get it. Monster Negation, and then Access Code Talker if you can get it. I mean, it's Access Code Talker. So the easiest one to get out is Zeus, but if you find yourself in weird situations, you can get out some of these other ones. But that being said, that's the deck. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any tips to make it, I guess, more efficient, more competitive, definitely let me know. Again, I started this as a troll deck, but I am, I've actually grown to like it. It's actually been my favorite deck to run, mainly because I haven't seen it anywhere else. Haven't seen anyone else do it. It's something I just thought of, on my own. Obviously, someone's probably, thought of this as well. It's not unique to me, of course, but I've never seen it done by anyone else. So I'm doing it. And so far, it's been a lot of fun. So I'm going to try and keep tweaking it, keep working on it, keep making it competitive, seeing what I can do, and, trying to see if I can get to plat. I'm on gold 3 with it right now from gold 5. So, we'll see if I can get to plat before the end of the season. And then from there, we'll see how long it takes to get to plat 1 with this. But we'll see what I got to fine tune it with to get there. But anyways, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have fun out there. Remember to love God, love people, love your life. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out.